I want to welcome everyone to Shabbat services, all of you who are gathered together tonight in the sacred space of this magnificent main sanctuary, and all of you who are viewing from the sacred space of Zoom. All are welcome. The Williams family, we're so glad to see you tonight. It's been a while. How good and how pleasant it is that brothers and sisters dwell together. And how lovely today is. Shabbat Shalom. Let us join together with Angela in singing first Hine Matov and then Mayofeh Hayom, both of which are found on page 10. Please turn to page 10.
Hine matov manayim, shevet ha'im gam yachad. Hine matov manayim, shevet ha'im gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet ha'im gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet ha'im gam yachad. Hine matov manayim, shevet ha'im gam yachad. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
And before blessing our Shabbat candles, which will officially begin Shabbat, how wonderful it is for us to have Mayor Roy West in our congregation tonight. And as president of the Board of Trustees of Temple Emanuel, it is both an honor and a pleasure and a privilege to invite you to join me, Mayor West. He will present us with the proclamation, and he'll tell us more about it as he reads.
Speak right here.
This is the one.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure to see you all here tonight, and it's a privilege to be here. And I'm going to be sharing a proclamation with you at this time. Whereas Jewish history is tightly woven into our cultural tapestry, and whereas artists and intellectuals of all backgrounds alluded to the promised land, the parting of the Red Sea, 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, and manna from heaven in a wide variety of context. And whereas in modern times, Jewish Americans have achieved boundless success in public service, academia, business, sports, and the fine arts. And these men and women embody a set of values that has influenced American thought at the most fundamental level. And they have personally shaped the development of our nation and our city from its earliest days. And whereas each year in the month of May, it is set aside to celebrate the role that Jewish Americans, past and present, have played in the larger story of the American people. And whereas these observances offer an opportunity for all citizens to reflect upon the prejudice and persecution the Jewish people have faced throughout history. And whereas anti-Semitism, continues to rise across the world, it is imperative now more than ever we stand in solidarity with Israel and the Jewish community and fight against hate, religious bigotry, and terrorism across the nation and the globe. And whereas we will not allow hate to disrupt the very principles that our great nation was founded upon: freedom, tolerance, and religious liberty. And whereas, as we celebrate our state's diversity, let us never forget our unwavering support for the state of Israel and its people. And may we always strive toward an even higher virtue, unity, by reinforcing ideas that value the transcend culture and ethnicity. Now, therefore, I, Roy West, Mayor of the City of Beaumont, hereby proclaim May 2024 as Jewish American History Month in Beaumont and call upon all citizens to learn more about the significant role Jewish people have played in our nation and in our city history, and to appreciate the rich heritage and observe the month by supporting appropriate programs, activities, and celebration. Accordingly, I have fixed my signature upon this and cause the seal of the Beaumont to be affixed. And I'd like to present this to you. All right.
Mayor West, if I turn that way, the microphone won't pick it up. Thank you for recognizing Jewish American History Month and for presenting the proclamation in our 100-year-old main sanctuary. Members of the Jewish community of Beaumont have been part of the fabric of Beaumont and Southeast Texas since 1887. They left countries where they were not welcome, and by the grace of God, ended up in Beaumont, Texas. The story of Jews in America was usually preceded by anti-Semitism in the countries from which they had come. And as you pointed out in the proclamation, there is an overabundance of anti-Semitism today. With your recognition of Jewish American History Month and your presence at Temple Emanuel tonight, you provide hope and you provide the solidarity that helps us to be a stronger people here in Beaumont, Texas. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
And now go celebrate your grandchild's happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now it is my pleasure to invite Marlene Swerdlow and Natalie Barth to bless the Sabbath candles. Please turn to pages 2 and 3.
Candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu, lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu, lehadlik ner
Please turn to page 6. We'll read at the top together. Excuse me. I like the one at the bottom much better. Let's go to the bottom of the page. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love and all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. Please join together on pages 20 and 21 with the Lahododi. We will be doing verses 1, 2, and 9. Please join me in reading in the middle of page 27. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set in my ways. Please rise for the Baruch on page 28.
Baruch
seated. On page 32, either listen to or follow along and sing Ahavat Olam at the top.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochenu, uvkumenu nasir perukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, ki hem chayenu, ve'orek yameinu.
On page 33 at the top, please join with me in reading. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean to struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohad Amo Yisrael. Please rise for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem kevod malchuto le'olam
to observe all my commandments and to be holy unto your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohim Emet. Please join Angela in singing the Michamocha on page 40, followed by the Hashkivenu on page 42. Please turn to the bottom of page 47. And together let's read the simple sentence underneath the line together. Every word of one's prayer should be like a rose that is picked from a bush. One gathers rose upon rose until a bouquet is formed and can be offered to God as a beautiful blessing. Please rise for the tefillah on page 46.
Adonai sepatai tiktaf uvia gidini latecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu,
praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, Hoel HaKadosh. Please turn to the bottom of page 57, as again we join together in reading. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, and our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward to the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odaha levadaha v'yirah la'avod. And now at the top of page 59, together, God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, ucha na'eh lahadot. Angela will be singing Shalom Rav on page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atam melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atam melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה לשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
And join together on 61 at the top for the translation of Shalom Rav. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, eternal one, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamborech et amo Yisrael v'shalom. On page 62, let us join together in listening to Angela and singing with her the Yehi V'Yorat song. It's in the middle of the page.
Yehi son in refi. Yehi son in refi. Adonai Suri v'go ali.
Please turn to page 53 for the Mishabera, and please call out the names of all who are ill or in need of prayer on this Shabbat. I will start with Dawn Berger and Robin Goebel and her entire family. The Mishabera, page 253. It is now my honor, as president of Temple Emanuel and as mother of Natalie Wolf-Barth, to welcome her to the Bema to share the Devorah Torah tonight. Natalie has been to Israel many times following October the 7th of 2023 and many times prior to that as well. She has been there and has her firsthand story to share. Natalie?
Shabbat Shalom. So good to see everybody. So, this week's Torah portion is Bahar. It's about the Shemitah year, the sabbatical year of letting your land rest and letting those who are hungry come and take from the remaining crops. I contemplated making a prophetic connection to my assigned topic of Israel to the Torah portion, and I could have given you a great story about the Israeli agricultural crisis at the beginning of the war. But I think for a moment, I'm going to let the Torah portion, Bahar, stand on its own. And as a good daughter, I will honor thy father and mother and will stick to the topic assigned. On October 6th, 2023, my brother Mark, his wife Amanda, and I celebrated Shabbat and Amanda's birthday together. My husband was at a board meeting and heading to Israel the next day for a conference to see Benjamin, one of our two sons, who was living there on a gap year program. A trip Brett would not end up taking, not because he didn't want to, but because United Airlines canceled his flight the next day. At 11:29 p.m., to me, October 6th, which translates to 6:29 a.m. on October 7th in Israel, I was upstairs alone getting ready for bed. My phone started ringing incessantly. I was a bit annoyed someone was calling me so late on Shabbat and a holiday weekend. And as I listened more carefully, I realized it was not a regular ringtone, but my Sofar Adom app, which is the Israeli emergency red alert system for incoming rockets. An app I had put on my phone a few years ago when our other son Brian was in Israel for a semester abroad, and I had refreshed it last April when I was there with some girlfriends for Israel's 75th. What a meaningful and amazing week that was last April, as we celebrated Yom HaZikaron, Israel's Memorial Day, and Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel's 75th birthday. We watched planes of every vintage and pilots from many countries doing flyovers along the beach in Tel Aviv in a show of solidarity, unity, Zionism, and Israeli spirit. Despite being exhausted from a long week, I quickly came to and looked to see what the alerts were and where they were, because on the app, there's a map and it shows you where the alerts were. Much to my surprise and everyone else's, the entire country was lit up with red dots. Within seconds, I was texting Benjamin, who at the time was soundly sleeping in his apartment in Tel Aviv. Brian, who was in Europe on a GAP program, only an hour behind Israel, texted me asking if I had received the alerts. And within minutes, our eyes were all glued to the news for the rest of the night and the coming days. I'm sure like many of you. Quickly, we heard that Ben was safe in the mamad, the safe stairwell in his apartment building, a place he would go many times over the next few days and weeks. Of the 150 students in his internship class and travel program, only 30 were still in Israel at the end of a few days. The program quickly pivoted from internships to joining the country in an exceptional wave of volunteerism, packing food for soldiers, sorting clothing that had been donated for evacuees. Because at the height of the conflict in the north and the south, over 250,000 Israelis of all backgrounds were displaced at hotels all across the country. He packed mini medic kits for soldiers to put in their uniform pockets. He played with children of evacuees in hotel lobbies. They picked fruit in abandoned fields, and so much more. My two young cousins were called up to the IDF reserves, and their mom, my cousin, started an art program at one of the evacuees' hotels, a program that lasted for many months. Literally almost everyone in the country except the ultra-Orthodox were doing something to help the country. A topic for another Devar Torah, or perhaps you can do research on that on your own after Shabbat. Needless to say, Benjamin's program showed productive resilience, eventually moving the children to Jerusalem and resuming their normal activities in the new normal that was post-October 7th Israel. Within 3 weeks, he was working for the deputy mayor of Jerusalem the rest of the first semester, and then he worked for a member of Knesset this past semester in Tel Aviv. He truly got an up-close view on the ins and outs of foreign policy and current events. But enough about Ben. Though we are so proud of him and are inspired by his unwavering commitment to Israel, and are thrilled he just returned home this week after completing 9 months of his program with over 120 students who ended up returning for the semester. Having a child in Israel this year meant that I was always planning to go visit him. A family trip planned for Thanksgiving and one for the spring. We set out for our Thanksgiving week trip in Israel with a subdued itinerary, more focused on volunteering and community than sightseeing and culture. Whether it was the secular Jewish restaurant worker who thanked us for coming because she was tired of staring at the blank walls at work, or the Arab-Israeli taxi driver who thanked us for using his services, or the Ethiopian Jew doorman at our hotel who thanked us for coming so he could get his job back. The entire country was so appreciative of our visit and the other emergency solidarity trips that had started to arrive. My cousin was thrilled to cook an Israeli-style Thanksgiving meal for us, complete with all of our favorite Turkey Day sides and delicious local specialties as well. I stayed a few extra days to join UJA on their second emergency mission, visiting one of the 22 southern kibbutzim and moshavs infiltrated by Hamas terrorists and Gazan civilians on October 7th, which at the time was still raw with smells of death, bloodstains, and bullet holes. There were literally dishes still in the sink from their Simchat Torah and Shabbat meals. We were truly eyewitnesses to horror. And we also comforted several displaced communities at their temporary hotels. We met with the Hostage Forum and hostage families. We were blessed to be there during the 1 week when a few hostages were returned each evening. We cheered alongside Israelis as they crossed the border back into Israel. And we met with the helicopter pilots and medics on the tarmac who had flown those heroic rescue missions. All in all, my first trip encouraged me that I had to go back, and I had to take more people with me. So, partnering up with a few New York friends, we organized another UJA emergency mission in early January, with a similar itinerary, but a very different tone. The country was not cheering for the return of hostages, but beginning to demonstrate, begging for the return of more. The young adult village at the kibbutz down south still smelled of death, but some of the families had actually gone to start cleaning out their homes. Some members of the community had returned to till their land. Nova Music Festival victims were actually ready to finally speak to us, and one who was unable to smile in November smiled with us in January. And we learned that sharing their stories was part of their long journey of therapy and healing. As we danced with soldiers and barbecued with them at a makeshift military base in the South, I could see the country trying to move forward, but the tone of complete unity had started to dampen. I returned for my third trip in late February. Without an organized itinerary, I made plans to take Ben and his friends to visit the helicopter and medic pilots on the base that I had been to on my prior visits. After driving an hour to the base, reality set in, as they said hello and goodbye to us in their first sentence. They were being called to duty. An envoy of soldiers had been ambushed in Gaza, and they needed to do an immediate emergency evacuation. My friend the medic called me a few hours later. The first helicopter had picked up a few soldiers who were still seriously wounded, and some had succumbed to their wounds. But his helicopter picked up those who would survive, and he assured me that he had had them call their parents en route to the hospital. For Benjamin and his friends, this was a sobering afternoon. We returned to Tel Aviv to see more protests, this time returning to the pre-October 7th disgruntled sentiment towards the government. One might say attempted democracy in action. I left, my third trip leaving me with a different feeling, still witnessing Israeli resilience, but also the raw feeling of discord and the realities of war. After being released from their reserve duties in February, our youngest cousin was actually called back up after Passover and is in and out of Rafah doing his job now. Benjamin was thankfully returned home. Today is day 230. I still wear this necklace in solidarity for the over 120 hostages still in Gaza. I'm helping a friend with her itinerary in June. I'm making plans for a potential fall trip with UJA. My inbox overflows with invitations to join volunteers, solidarity, and emergency missions from the ABCs of Jewish organizations around the country. And my synagogue just announced another solidarity trip post the high holidays. Because, as the Sephardic poet Yehuda Halevi said over 1,000 years ago, while we may be in the West, our hearts are in the East. Friends, this situation is not easy. Israel was unprovokingly attacked on October 7th. Over 1,400 innocent Israelis have been brutally murdered, raped, mutilated, burned, killed in action, including peace-loving kibbutzniks, music festival attendees, families of all ages, and soldiers. And innocent hostages were taken. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza is real. And it is made exceptionally more difficult with UN workers who are not all nonpartisan, the International Red Cross that is non-existent, and Hamas, who violently steals many trucks of aid every day. Israel's sovereignty was shaken, but it was not taken. Hostage negotiations are an ongoing game of human chess. Israel's wartime government is not always working or speaking publicly in lockstep. The world's PR and social media platforms are full of anti-Israel rhetoric. Our college campuses are laced with encampments and protests, with age-old anti-Semitic tropes being touted as mainstream free speech. Having listened recently to a constitutional lawyer, it is all very complicated. Emotions are volatile, but the lines of peaceful engagement have been violated again and again. So, back to Bahar. The Shemitah year will have to wait. We cannot afford to take a sabbatical from our homeland. It's our time, all of our time, to stand up, speak up, and show up for Israel and the Jewish people, however, wherever, and whenever we can, because Kol Yisrael Arazim Zelazeh, all of Israel is responsible for one another. Shabbat Shalom.
Your mama's going later also.
All good.
First, I want to thank Angela and Scott for the beautiful music tonight, as usual, and for Michael, who's up there. There he is. I can't see him except he did wave. For zooming this out to those of you who are in virtual land. There's a few announcements. Next week, Rabbi Michaels will be here on Friday night, and he will also have Torah study on Saturday morning. There is a Brotherhood event in June that the congregation is invited to. That's listed in your flyer. And the Rossinger Center is, the Rossinger dinner is in October, and invitations will be going out in July. Is that right? The deadline's in July, so if you're interested in donating and having your name on those invitations, the deadline's July 1st. And Lamar University will be honored at that dinner. The hostesses tonight are Candy Holder and Kay Spector, and I want to thank them for the Oneg Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Thank you from your mother, Natalie, and your very proud father who's sitting on the front row as opposed to sitting up here and joining us. I want to thank Aunt Marlene and niece Natalie for joining me on the Bema tonight. Please rise as we open the ark as Angela sings Avinu Sheva Shamayim, which is a prayer for the state of Israel, and to capture the full meaning as it's being sung, please read the translation on page 259. And following that, please remain standing until after the Olenu. Let us say Amen. Please be seated. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'teiknu la'alian separation.
82.
Shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzon, ve'lo samanu kemishpot ha'adama. Shelo samchelkenu ha'hem, ve'gor aleinu kechol ha'mona. Va'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim,
I'll be reading from page 293 at the bottom. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Tonight we mark the yahrzeits of Sophie Sampson Eisen, Harry Galuski Sr., Albert Goodell, Tina Grodwall, Roger Norman Koshkin, Raymond Meyer Tettenbaum, Sam Benner, Jean Grace Klein, my grandmother Celia Roost, Herman Petrauer, Anna Schnitzer, Bessie Fishbein Schwartz, Lena Levy Bluestein, Morris Lewis Jacobs, Betty Knight, Samuel Blum Sharfstein, William L. Simons, Zach Jacobs, Louis Sokolsky, Sophie Begelman, J. Cecile Krager, Asher Herman, Freda Mushlin, Marion Edelstein, Ginger Greenberg, Edith Catherine Hay, Charles Lantos, Helen Oren, Ruth Steele, and tonight we also remember Beatrice Trevitsky, the mother of Robin Goebel, and we remember Israelis, including members of Israel Defense Forces who have died since October the 7th of 2023, as well as people of Gaza. Please rise as we recite together the sacred words of the Mourner's Cottage, found on page 294. Yit Gadal, Yit Gadal, Shemei Rabal, B'yamai Divrah Kirutei, B'yamliv Malchutei, B'hayet Hom, B'yamei Hom, B'hayet Kol Beit Yisrael, B'agala Isman Kari, B'yamru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabban Mevorah, B'yolam Omei Amaya. Yitzbarach, B'yishtabah, B'yitzpa'ar, B'yitzraman, B'yitnaseh. B'yitzadar, B'yitzaleh, B'yitzallah, Shemei B'yitzshah, B'richu. La'elam Minkol Birchata, B'shuata, Tushkachata, V'nechamata, Damiran B'yama, B'yamru, Amen. Yehei Shalom Rabba Min Shemaya. B'hayim Aleinu B'yal Kol Yisrael, B'yamru, Amen. Osei Shalom B'ramah, Uya Osei Shalom. Aleinu B'yal Kol Yisrael, B'yamru, Amen. Please remain standing as together we sing the closing song, which is actually part of the Mourner's Cottage, Osei Shalom.
Osei Shalom, Shalom in Ramah, Uya Osei Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol
creates harmony on high, bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom, and let's continue to enjoy Shabbat in the Swirlo Roost Social Hall.